Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 1 for A-level math for the year October-November 2002. Now with that being said, let's move on to question number 1. So here we have to find the value of the term which is independent of x in the expansion of this expansion. So let's see. Now we understand that we are trying to find the term which is independent of x. So what does it mean? It means that it is a term where we have no x. That's what it means. So if you were to expand the whole thing here, which term will give you something where we don't have any x? Now usually how would you expand this? As we have seen many times before and also in AddMath. So usually we will use the formula that we have, which is taking 4, we have 4 here, choose something that we don't know, then we have the first term x, and then here we have the other term 3 plus 3 over x. It is positive. Now we want to choose the power here such that the x will cancel out. So let's think, how can this happen? So we understand that for them to cancel out they have to be equal, right? Because if you think, we have, for example, when we take x times 1 over x, they will cancel out because they have the same power. So the same logic applies here. So what power can I choose for this one? I will have to choose 2. If I choose 2 here, this also will be 2 here. Now 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 will be here. So now if you expand, you will see what happens. So 4 choose 2 is 6 times x squared. This will be 9 over x squared. Now you can see clearly that these two will cancel out, and 6 times 9 will be the term which is independent of x. Now again, this is only one way of doing that. However, if you guys would like to expand the whole thing, you can also do that, because there's only 4 terms to expand. 5 terms in total. So it will not be that hard. You can always expand everything and then choose the term which does not have x, which will be independent of x in this question. And this will be the question involving these expansion. Here we have a geometric progression for which the common ratio is positive. So we know this is positive, and the common ratio is simply the value of r, right? We have to know this. Now we know that the type of progression we have to work with is a geometric progression. That is a very good thing. That's the first step, that we have to know what kind of progression we have for the question. Now, once we know this, let's first write down all the formulas that we know for this kind of progression. So we have the n term is given to you by a r power n minus 1, and the sum to infinity is a over 1 minus r for r is less than 1. This is the given formulas we have for this kind of progression. Again, this is given to you. You don't need to memorize. However, if you memorize them, you will just waste less time. Anyways, let's move on with the question. Here we have the second term is 18. So second term, t of 2, that will be 18. And the fourth term, so t of 4, that will be the value of 8. So we have these two as given information. So using these information, part 1, we have to find the first term, which is the value of a, and the common ratio, which is the value of r of the geometric progression. So pretty easy using these given values. First one, term number 2 is 18. So it means that when the value of n is equal to 2, the term is equal to 18. We place back in the first equation. So n is 2 is equal to a, we don't know, r we don't know, n is 2 minus 1 is 1. It is supposed to give you the value of 18. So a times r is 18. That will be my equation number 1. Now moving on to part 2, what do we have? Same thing, a fourth term is 8. So t4 is equal to 8. Great. When the value of n is equal to 4, the value of t is equal to the value of 8. So term of 4, when n is equal to 4, a we don't know, replace, obviously we're replacing back in the same formula right here. R we don't know, and the power is n minus 1, n is 4 minus 1 is 3, is going to be given to you by the value of 8. So A times r power 3 is equal to 8. That is my equation number 2. Now when you have two equations, we have two unknowns, we are trying to solve these equations simultaneously to find the value of A and R. So let's try this. So what can I do here? Let's think. So I can do, let's do A is equal to the value of 18 divided by R. That's the first step. Now we can replace the A here. So A is also equal to 18 over R times R cubed equal to the value of 8. Simplify. This will cancel out with this. You will have R squared will be 8 over 18 divided by 2. That will be 4 over 9. So here you can see R have to be the value of 2 over 3. Because we know the common ratio is positive, we will not take into account the negative value. We'll only take this one value. Okay, great. That will be part 1. Now we have to also find the value of A. A is equal to 18 divided by 2 over 3. So simplify. Obviously, I would always recommend using your calculator because even if you know how to do it, it's not worth you taking a risk. That will be 27. So here we conclude part 1. A is equal to 27 and R is equal to 2 over 3 for part 1. Now for part 2, we have to find the sum to infinity of the progression. Now let's move on. So part 2 of the question, sum to infinity is what? Okay, let's think. That will be simply given by the formula we have, which is A over 1 minus R. A is given to you, or was found to be 27, divided by 1 minus R is 2 over 3. Let's see, what do we get? 27 divided by 1 minus 2 over 3. That will be 18 as your value for the sum to infinity. Okay, and that will be the question involving the series, which is a geometric progression for these kind of questions. So it's pretty easy. As always, first thing we have to know the type, and here it is mentioned is GP, and then we write down all the formulas we know about this progression, and then we use the given values to proceed to find the required answers. Now in this question, in the diagram, OPQ is a sector of a circle. So we have OP and Q. Okay. Now, and the radius is given to you by R. So here we know the radius of this sector is R centimeters. Now, angle QOP is theta, radians. The tangent to the circle at Q meets OP, extended at R. So as you can see, it tells you that the tangent to the circle at Q, so here we have Q, and this is a tangent, it will meet OP continuing at this point. Okay, no big deal. We know this. These are the given information that we have as well on the diagram, right? So everything here, it is just the same thing given to you in this paragraph. Now let's move on to the questions. So part 1, we have to show the area A of the shaded region is given to you by this. Okay, so we have to find this area right here. So how can you find this? So we have to think step by step. So logically thinking, we can first find the area of the whole triangle. So that will be number 1. We can find the area of the triangle OQR. That's the first step. If that makes sense, we find the whole thing, and then we can minus the area of the sector OPQ, so that the remaining area will be the one that we need. So as you can see, there's 2 steps. First find the big one, and then minus the small one, so we can have only this one left, and that's the one that we need. Now, how can you find the area of a triangle? Now we observe, here we have, you can see here we have a right angle triangle. Now whenever we have a right angle triangle, we can use a formula. So the formula to find the area of a triangle, when you have a right angle triangle, it will be half times base and times perpendicular height. So let's check. So the base here we know it is r, half is half, doesn't change, and we have to find the height. What is the perpendicular height? Now again, we can find this by using SOHCAHTOA because it is a right angle triangle, if that makes sense, right? So let me draw this triangle here. So let's say we have our triangle here, for example. That's my right angle triangle. Angle here is theta. This is O, Q, and R. Now we know the height here. We are trying to find this value. This is given to you by R as the radius. Now we understand that because it is a right angle triangle, we can use a few ways to find the height. So here we can obviously use SOHCAHTOA to find the value of h. So using SOHCAHTOA. So let's see what size do we have. So here we have the A side, right, between the right angle and the angle. That will be the A side, so A and A. And here we're trying to find this side. This is the opposite side, so O. That will be tan. So we have to use tan of the angle is equal to the opposite side, which is H, over the A side, which is R. So which means H, the height will be R times tan theta. Replace back in your main equation, as you can see, half times base times height. This will be the area of the triangle. This is part 1 of the question. So here we're able to find the area of this triangle. Now for part 2, we're trying to find the area of the sector OPQ. Now this is pretty easy. We need to know, or we have to know, the formula of this, how to find the sector, area of the sector. That will be half r square theta. Now this is only in radians, so we have to use that formula. That will be half times r square, which is the radius. It is r, as you can see, and this is exactly theta. So here you go. Now this is the area, and this is the area that we need to find this part exactly. So let me replace this everything back in the main equation. So the shaded area that we need to find is number 1, which is this one, half r square tan theta, minus the area number 2, which is half r square theta. So factorize, take out half because they are the same in both, take out r square because they're the same in both, and remaining will have tan theta minus theta. And this is, guess what, shown as required for your 2 marks. Okay, that is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, in this case, in the case where, so here we have theta equal to 0.8 and r equal to 15, we have to find the length of the perimeter of the region. Now again, what is perimeter? We have to know the definition of this. It is the distance around the region that we need to find. Around the region. So let's see. In this case, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the distance around this object. So we're trying to find PR, QR, and then QP. So our value for P will be the sum of QP plus PR and then plus QR. As you can see, again, step by step, we are trying to find out what we need to find to give back the required value for your question. Now QP is what? It is the value here, which is the length of arc. Now we have to understand the length of arc is given to you by a formula, which is R, which is the radius. That will be 15 given to you, and theta is the angle 0.8. So r theta will be the length of the arc. Now for part 2, PR will be this one. So how can you find PR? So if you think, there's definitely a way. We can first find, let me first find this one, because this one was found out already. Because we know this was the height, right? The value of h. Now we have seen h was equal to r tan theta. So let me write this down first. This one was found to be r tan theta. R is 15. Tan theta will be 0.8. Now plus we have to find this one, PR. How would you find the length of PR? Like, let's observe. To find this length, we can first find the whole length, right? And then minus r, which is given to you now, to obtain this one. So let me write this down. To find the length of PR, we can first find the whole thing, which is OR, and then minus the value of OP, which we know it is the radius. OP is the radius, it is 15 given to you. So we first have to find the value of OR. Now if you observe here, to find OR, it is also pretty easy because we have a right angle triangle. We can use SOHCAHTOA again, or you can use the Pythagoras theorem. It is up to you. I can use SOHCAHTOA in this case, or the Pythagoras theorem. So let me try this method. So I have this right angle triangle. This is R. This is Q. This is O. This is the angle theta, which is now 0.8, as we have seen. This is the radius R, which is 15. This is right angle. And we're trying to find the length of OR. Right. Let's call this the value of x. We're trying to find x in this case. Now, I will try to use SOHCAHTOA, but of course you can use the Pythagoras theorem in this question for this part. Now, we have this A side, so we have A side, and I'm trying to find the hypotenuse, which is H side. That will be cos of the angle. That will be A side first, 15 over the H side, which is this hypotenuse. Now, H is x here, so as I call it x, so x will be 15 divided by cos of 0.8. We have to use radians here. That will be 21.52986, which should be 21.53. Let's write this for now. Now, this is the length of OX, so OR, which is the whole thing. And as we have seen, we only care about PR. So OR is 21.53. So 21.53 minus 15, that will be 6.53. Okay, so that will be part one of so we have to find this here. So 6.53. So now let's add everything together to find the perimeter that we are actually trying to find. That will be 15 times 0.1.8 plus 6.53 plus 15 tan of 0.8. That will be 33.974. But obviously we have to express non-exact values to 3SF. That will be 34.0, and that will be centimeters as your answer. Okay, so that will be your question for circular measure for this type of question. So as you can see, we always try to proceed step by step, and there's a few things you have to know, such as the formulas. For example, here we have to know what to use to find the area of a sector, right? And also we have to know when we have a right angle triangle, what formula we can use to find the area of the triangle. And also we can use SOHCAHTOA and Pythagoras theorem when we have a right angle triangles. So these are the few concepts behind these questions that we have to know to solve this question. And this is the question that we have for circular measure. Now let's move on to this question. So the gradient at any point, xy on the curve is this. Now the first thing we have to understand is that the gradient is what? The gradient is actually dy by dx. So I hope you guys make a note of this. So because whenever this will come up, you know exactly what it means when we have the gradient of a curve or of a line. So let's write this down. We are given that dy by dx by the question is equal to root of 1 plus 2x. Now again, we can rewrite this as 1 plus 2x power half. That makes sense because we know that square root is actually power half. Okay, that is the first part that we have to kind of derive. Now the curve passes through the point. This is the passing point. This is my x and my y value for the point, obviously. Now part one, we have to find the equation of the curve. Now equation of a curve means we have to find the value of y. Okay, now we understand that since integration is a reverse process of differentiation. Because you're given dy by dx, we have to use that somewhere. So by thinking logically or by knowing some concepts, we understand that if you were to integrate dy by dx, you will have to get y back. So this is how we are going to find the equation of the curve, which is y. So y is equal to integration of dy by dx, which is 1 plus 2x power half and then dx. And we have to find this. So first thing first, we have to increase the power by 1. So half plus 1 is 3.2. Sorry, 3 over 2. That'll be 1 plus 2x, 3 over 2. Okay. And then we have to divide by the same power, 3 over 2. And then we have to divide by d by dx of the value inside. That will be just 2. Because we know that d by dx of 1 plus 2x, the value inside, is going to be 2, and that's why we divide by 2. And finally, please do not forget this, we have to also add the constant of integration at the end. Okay, that's the main idea. Now simplify, this and this will cancel out, so you will have 1 over 3, 1 plus 2x power 3 over 2 plus c as your value of y, which is the equation of the curve. Now again, this is only part marks, we have to also find this value of c. So how do we find this value? As always, we have to use the given values or information that we have to find that. This is my x value and my y value. So it just means that when x is equal to 4, the value of y is 11. So let's do that. Y will be 11 when the value of x is equal to 4. So 2 times 4 here is 8, 3 over 2 plus c. So 1 plus 8 is 9 power 3 over 2. That will be this, divided by 3. That will be 9. So 11 is equal to 9 plus c. So finally, c has to be the value of 2. So let's conclude by conclusion. Y have to be 1 over 3, 1 plus 2x, 3 over 2 plus the value of c, which is 2. So this is the value of y that we have to show for part 1. Now for part 2, we have to find the point at which the curve intersects the y-axis. So pretty easy. Now again, we have a very good indication here. Whenever you see intersects, meets, cuts, or joins, this will lead to a simultaneous equation. So we have to understand that. So now we have the equation of the curve, which is y equal to 1/3 1 plus 2x power 3 over 2 plus 2. That is my equation number 1. Now it meets with the x-axis. Now we understand that at the x-axis, so y-axis, at the y-axis, what happens? The value of x have to be 0. So I hope you guys understand this. On the vertical line, obviously, because here we have the x-axis and the y-axis. This is y and this is x. On the y-axis, obviously, the value of x will be 0. So that's why we know this. So replace this value back in your equation. You will have y 1 over 3, 1 plus 0, 3 over 2 plus 2. So you will have y is equal to, this will be 1, that will be 1 over 3 plus 2, that will be 2, 1 over 3. If you want to, you can always expand this, up to you. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 7 over 3. So the point of intersection will be what? The point will be the x value is 0 and the y value will be 7 over 3. Okay, and this will be a question involving integration. So here we have to show the equation 3 tan theta is equal to this can be expressed as this. So again, at first it may look confusing, but we have to always proceed step by step. So here we have 3 tan theta is equal to 2 cos theta. Now we understand that in this equation we don't have any tan, no cos. So we have to do something, right? We have to change something. So let's first try to change this. We understand that tan theta is equal to what? We know it is equal to sin theta over the value of cos theta. That's something we know. We have to know, right? So let's replace. You have 3 sine theta over the value of cos theta. That will be 2 cos theta over the value of 1. Now we can just cross multiply. You will have 2 sine theta. Sorry, this is 3 here. And this will go up here. That will be 2 cos square theta in this case. So now we can always try to expand this, because we know that cos square theta plus sine square theta is equal to 1. So we know this is given to you as well on your list of formula. Now let's make this become the subject. That will be 1 minus sine square theta. Right. Replace. You will have 3 sine theta is equal to 2 times 1 minus sine square theta. Right. So you have 3 sine theta is equal to 2 minus 2 sine square theta. Now let's send everything to one side. You will have 2 sine square theta plus 3 sine theta minus 2 is equal to 0. Aha, so now this is exactly what we are trying to find, and this is shown as required. Okay, that is part 1 of the question solved for you, shown as we need to show. Now for part 2, we have to hence means we have to use part 1, solve the equation this between the values of theta is between 0 and 360. So pretty easy. Now we have to solve part 2, right? It is 3 tan theta is equal to 2 cos theta. Now we understand that from the first part, this is also equal to 2 sine square theta plus 3 sine theta minus 2. That will be the value of 0. Now as you can see clearly, it will be a quadratic equation. However, if you guys have some issues working with sine square and stuff, you can always let u equal to sine theta for now. So you will have 2u square plus 3u minus 2 equal to 0. Now it is much simpler to look at. Now again, we have to factorize and try to solve this quadratic equation. That will be 2u times u for 2u square. And here we have 2. So 2 is 2 times 1. Let's put 2 here and 1 here. Now, because we're trying to find the value of plus 3, right, we have to have plus 4 and then minus 1. Now we understand that when we find this, we always take the first one multiplied by the last one. So here you can see 2u multiplied by plus 2 is plus 4. And then take this one multiplied by this one. So plus 4 minus 1, that should be plus 3, which is good. Now check, minus times plus has to be minus, so here we have minus, so it is good factorization. So let's solve. First one will be 2u minus 1 will be 0, so u will be the value of half. U plus 2 will be 0, u will be the value of minus 2. Now again, we're not trying to find the value of u, we're trying to find the value of theta. So replace this one back in the main equation. So u is equal to sine theta. So sine theta is the value of half, and sine theta is the value of minus 2. Now this will be invalid because we understand that, or we have to know that sine theta is always going to be between the value of minus 1 and 1. So let's make a note of this so you guys know this as well. Sine theta is always going to be between the values of minus 1 and 1. Okay, that is something we have to know because of this. Or you can just try, hey, so sine theta is minus 2, so sine inverse of minus 2 should be what? Bam, error, so it's not possible. Okay, so let's do this one. Now as you can see, sine theta is positive, which is plus half. It should be what? It should be, as we know, we use the quadrants here. That will be A, S, T, C. It should be in the first quadrant and in the second quadrant because it is A here and S here. So this is just the angle directly, and this will be 180 minus the angle. So theta here will be what? Sine inverse of half. Sine inverse of half, that will be, here we have to use degrees, that will be 30. This is the first angle here. We also have to find this one, that will be 180 minus 30, that should be 150 as your answer. So here in the end, we end up with two values for theta. Theta will be 30 or 150 as your final value for this equation to be true. And this is a question involving trigonometry. So in this diagram, we have a triangle ABC. So ABC is a right angle triangle, as we can see clearly on the diagram. Now D is the midpoint of BC, so D is right here. This is half and half because it is the midpoint of BC. Now, angle DAC is 30, as you can see, and the angle BAD is X. Okay, great. Now we have AD is given to you by the length L. So part 1, express each of AC, BC exactly in terms of L, okay, and show that AB is given to you by this. So one by one, first let's find AC. So where's AC? AC is this length. Okay, so what can we do here? Let me take out the shape of triangle ADC. So we have A, D, and C. Right, if you can see that. This is A, C, and D. Now we know this is a right angle, and this is the value of 30 degrees. Right. Now what's next? We know this is L. Now we have to find the value of AC. So this is the value of AC that we need to find. Okay, so how can we find this? So clearly we will have to use SOHCAHTOA because we know this is a right angle triangle. We know the angle here, we know the side, so obviously we can use SOHCAHTOA to find the side of AC. So we have this side, this is the hypotenuse, which is H and H, and we're trying to find the A side, this will be A. So here we have to use cos. So cos of 30 is equal to A, which is this side AC, over the value of H, which is L. So conclusion will be AC by cross multiplying will be L cos of 30. Now we have to provide the exact value. So what is the exact value of cos of 30? So you guys have to know this. I mean, usually you don't need to memorize, but it is definitely, I will recommend that, to be honest. So cos of 30 will be this value. So I do know that with experience and practice, this is the same as taking this divided by 2. So that will be L root 3 over 2. Now I guess I will also show you guys when the time comes, there will be another method we can use to not memorize this. However, the reason why I tell you guys to memorize those values, because it will just save you time. That's the reason why. So you guys have to know the exact values for the angles 30, 60, and 45. These are the values that come up the most often where they ask you for the exact values. So for these angles, if you guys can memorize, kudos to you. Now let's move on. Here we have AC as root 3 over 2 times the value of L. That is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find the value of BC. Now let's have a look for BC. So where's BC? BC is this big thing. BC is made up of, so as we can see by observation, we know that BC is BD plus DC. So we have this part and this part. Now we understand that BD and DC, they're the same, so we can just find DC first and then multiply by 2 to get BC. So let's first find DC. Now again, by using the right angle triangle, so we have this, this, and this. This is A, C, B, and this is 30, this is 90, this is L. Okay, let's find the value of, so this is DC, not BC. DC, as we have seen here. DC, right. Now, how are we going to find this? So pretty easy again, we can still use SOHCAHTOA to find the value of that side. So let's check it out. SOHCAHTOA. So here we have the H side, which is the hypotenuse. And here we have the opposite side, that will be O and O. Here we have the most marked, we have to use sine. So sine of the angle have to be the opposite side, which is DC, over the value of H, which is L. Now from this, obviously we can just simplify. That will give you what? DC have to be L sine of 30. That will be half of L. So here we have found the value of AC, and here we have DC. So finally we realize that obviously we're trying to find BC, but we know DC is just half of BC. We'll just multiply by 2. That will give you BC have to be the value of L. Okay, that is part 1 and 2 of the question. Now finally we have to show that AB is equal to this. Now what is AB? AB will be this big one. Now since we know this is what value? 3 root 3 over 2L, and BC is L, we have to find this side. So we have to find this side how? We have to use the Pythagoras theorem, because we know the two sides and we know this is also a right angle triangle. We can simply use that. So that will give me what? Root 3 over 2 L square plus L square, and that will give me AB square. So let's solve one by one. So here I will have 3 over 4 L square plus 1 L square, that will be AB square. Let's simplify. 3 over 4 plus 1, that will be, so 1, that will be 1, 3 over 4. But if you want to simplify, that will be 1 times 4 is 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 over 4. That will be 7 over 4 L square, that will be AB square. So finally, we can just find the value of AB by applying square root on both sides. You will have what? So let me continue over here, have more space, right? So right now I have AB square is equal to 7 over 4 L square. So AB will be root of 7 over 4 L square. That will be root of 7 over root of 4 times root of L square. That will simplify to what? So here I will have L, because we know that square root is simply the power of half. So L square power half will be L. Root of 4 is 2, and this will be root of L. So let me continue this over here. So we realize AB is now equal to half L times root 7. And this is, guess what? Shown as required for the side AB. Okay, that will be part 1 of the question. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. We have to show this is this. The value of x is given to you by this. So how can we show this? Let's think. Where's x? X is right here. This one. Right. And then what else do we know? We know the whole thing. So we can use a few methods here. We can actually break this down. So now we also have to realize something, is that if you add those two, so this big one will be what? 30 plus x. Right, that's the other thing we do realize. Now, if you break this down, if you just take up the whole triangle, what do we have? We have this thing, A, B, and D. So C. This is C, this is A, and B. Now this was found to be L, and this was found to be half L root 7, and this was found to be the value of root 3 over 2 L, and this is 90, and this whole thing here is just x plus 30. Now, because we have to show that we have a tan, we understand tan is TOA, right? Tan is TOA. We need opposite side over a side. So let's do this. Tan of the angle of x plus 30, that has to be opposite side, which is this side L, over a side will be this side, which is root 3 L over 2. So this and this will obviously cancel out, so you will have 1 over root 3 over 2, which is the same as 2 over root 3. Now finally, x plus 30 will be simply tan inverse of 2 root 3, and x will be tan inverse of 2 root 3 minus 30. Okay, and that will be your answer exactly shown as required for part 2 of the question. Okay, and that will be another question involving the concept of trigonometry. Replace, so that will be 2, 6, and 3. That will be here for the magnitude of A, pretty easy. That will be, this is the formula we have to know. That will be 2 squared, that will be 4, plus minus 2 squared is also 4, and 1 squared is 1. That will be root of 9, and that should be 3. And the magnitude of B, that will be same again. That will be 2 squared will be 4, 6 squared will be 36, and 3 squared will be 9. So 4 plus 36 plus 9, that should be 49, and that should be root of 49, that will give you 7. So replace A will be the value of 3, and 4, and B will be 7, and cos of theta. Now simplify. So here we have to do dot product. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus obviously minus 2 times 6 will be minus 12, plus 1 times 3 is 3, and that should be 3 times 7 is 21, cos of theta. Now always double check. So 3 times 7 is 21 indeed. So here we have 4 minus 12 plus 3, that will be minus 5, divided by 21, that will give you cos of theta. And finally for the angle in between, which is theta, have to be cos inverse of minus 5 over the value of 21. Cos inverse of that should give you 103.8 degrees. Again, angles, we always like to give them correct to 1 decimal place. So angles are a bit different, not 3SF, but 1 decimal place for angles which are non-exact. That will be part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find the value of P for which BC and C, they are perpendicular. Now if you think, let's say BC is this direction, so B is this direction, and C is this direction. Now we understand that if they are perpendicular, the angle in between them have to be 90, which means theta is equal to 90 degrees. So again, it's always going to be going back to the same equation. If you think, here we have B dot of C, we have magnitude of B, magnitude of C, and then cos of the angle. But now we realize that the angle here is 90 degrees. So if you type in cos 90 is 0. So the conclusion is that whenever you have two vectors, they are perpendicular to each other, their dot products have to give you the value of 0. That is the conclusion what we can have from this. So now what is B? We know B is 2, 6, 3. Dot of C is P plus 1, have to give you the value of 0. So dot product, so 2 times P will be P, plus 6 times P will be 6P, plus 3 times this will be 3P, plus the value of 3 have to be 0. Simplify. 2P plus 6P plus 3P, that will be 11P, plus 3 have to be 0. So 11P have to be minus 3, so P have to be minus 3 over the value of 11. Okay, that will be your question regarding vectors for paper 1. So here we have a curve half equation. This is given to you by the question. Now where K is a constant to be found. Maybe, I don't know. Now part 1, we have to write down an expression for this. Pretty easy. dy by dx, first thing first, multiplied by the power, that will be 3x, then 3 minus 1 will be 2. Then will be 6x, 2 minus 1 is 1. Then minus 9, and that's it. That will be dy by dx for part 1 of the question. Now part 2, find the x value of the two stationary points on the curve. Pretty easy. We have to understand that something at stationary points, we have to know that dy by dx have to be 0. So that's where we are going to lead the question to. We know dy by dx is 3x squared plus 6x minus 9 have to be 0. Now, since everyone is divisible by 3, we can divide by 3. You will have x squared plus 2x minus 3 have to be 0. Now we can factorize. X squared is x times x, and 3 is simply 3 times 1. Now we need plus 2, so we have to have plus 3 minus 1 to get plus 2. So x have to be the value of 1, and x have to be the value of minus 3. So these are the two that we need to use for your answer here. X is simply minus 3, and x is 1 for the stationary points that we have for this curve. Now for part 3, hence means we have to use the value from these ones. Find the two values of k for which the curve have a stationary value on the x-axis. Right, so let's see how we can use these points. So for example, what do we know? We know that at x-axis, what is true? The value of y have to be 0. Now, if the curve have stationary points on the x-axis, it means that the first point will be minus 3, and y have to be 0, and the second point has to be 1, and then 0, because this is what the question wants you to do. So again, this is derived from the question. We have the stationary point on the x-axis. Because of that, we know we have y equal to 0, so x value will be anything that we want to according to the question, then the rest will become 0. Now one by one, let's use this one first. This is my x value and my y value. Now the curve is equal to what? Y is equal to x power 3 plus 3x squared minus 9x plus k. Now if x equal to minus 3, y have to be 0. So let's do that. That will be 0 here. Minus 3 power 3 will be minus 27, and 3 times 9 will be 27 as well, plus 27 plus k. So this and this will cancel out. K will be minus 27. That is my first value of k. Now for this one, let's try this one. Again, the same equation. When x is equal to 1, y has to be 0. Replace, it will be 0 here. Now it will be 1 plus 3 minus 9 plus k. That will be 0 here. 4 minus 9 plus k. 0 here, that will be minus 5 plus k. And k will be the value of 5. So here we have the two values that we need, minus 27 and 5. So two values that we have to find for part 3 of the question. Now here the only thing we have to understand was this one, for which the curve have the stationary point on the x-axis. Now we know on the x-axis the value of y is 0, that's what we know, and then because we know the stationary point have to be such that y is 0, if the x value is something, y will have to be 0, and then step by step finding the two values that we need for the values of k. And that will be a question involving differentiation. The diagram shows the rectangle ABCD, where A is 3, 2 and B is 1, 6. Okay, given to you by the diagram. Now part 1, find the equation of BC. So pretty easy. Let's first find the equation of BC. Now we understand that if it is a rectangle, the angle in between have to be 90. Now to find the equation of a straight line, we have to first find the gradient of BC. Now we understand to find the gradient of BC, we can first find the gradient of AB, because it is just much easier. Or BA, same thing. AB or BA, same thing, right? So let's do BA. Why not? Because it is just a center point. So how would you find the gradient of BA? So the gradient of BA will be what? So y2 minus y1, so 2 minus 6 over 3 minus 1. That should be the value of minus 4 over the value of 2. That should be minus 2. From this we conclude that the gradient of BC have to be the value of half, because they are at 90 degrees to each other. So we have to know this concept behind, which is the gradient of BC multiplied by the gradient of BA have to give you the value of minus 1, because they are perpendicular to each other. That's something we have to know for this kind of question. So now since we have the gradient, we can move on to find the equation. So pretty easy. We have a passing point which is B. As we can see, this is 1, 6. This is my x value and my y value. So we have to do, this is just a technique to find the line or to find the equation of a line. So y minus its corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value have to equal to the gradient, which is 1 over 2. Now cross multiply, you will have 2y minus 12 have to be x minus 1. So 2y have to be x minus 1 plus 12. So 2y have to be x plus 11. That will be part 1 of the question into finding the equation of BC. Now for part 2, given that the equation of AC is this. Now where's AC? AC will be this line. So if you join A to C, right, A to C, this will be given to you by this equation, which is y equal to x minus 1. Now question, we have to find the point C. Pretty easy. As you can see, point C is the point of intersection between this line and this line. Intersecting means we have to use that to solve a simultaneous equation. So we have equation number 1 and equation number 2 was found to be 2y equal to x plus 11. Right, so we have to solve this step by step to find the value of the coordinates of C. So let's do this. So here we have y is equal to x minus 1. Replace y in this y. You will have 2 times y, which is x minus 1, is equal to x plus 11. So simplify, that will be 2x minus 2, x plus 11. So send this over here, becomes 2x minus x will be x. Send this over here will be 13. So x will be 13. Now the value of y will be what? Y will be 13 minus 1, that should be 12. So the point C will be simply 13 and then 12. That is my point C for part 2 of the question. Now for part 3 of the question, we have to find the perimeter of the rectangle ABCD. So ABCD. So perimeter is the distance around this rectangle. So we also understand that this side is the same as this, and this is the same as this. So we can just find this and multiply by 2 to get the whole thing. So let's first find the length of AB. So the perimeter is simply the distance around the object. So we know that it is a rectangle, and we know that AB we have to plus with BC plus CD plus DA. However, we know that AB is the same as CD and BC is the same as DA. So what we can do is we can just take AB plus BC and then multiply by 2. So let's first find those two lengths. So the point A is given to you by 3, 2, and the point B is given to you by 1, 6. Now what is the magnitude of AB, which is the length? Pretty easy. Use our formula we have, which is y2 or x2 minus x1. So 1 minus 3 is minus 2. Then square, that will be 4. Plus this minus this will be 4 square, that will be 16. That will be root of 20. Now moving on to BC. B is 1, 6 and C was found to be 13, 12. Okay, so length of BC, that will be what? So x2 minus x1, so 13 minus 1 is 12 square, 12 then square, that will be 144, and plus 12 minus 6 will be 6 plus square, that will be 36. That will be what? 144 plus 36, that will be root of 180. So let's add them up together. That will be 2 times root of 20 plus root of 180. That will be 2 root of 20 plus 2 root of 180. However, we can always provide the value. So root of 20 plus root of 180 times 2, that will be 35.8, correct to 3SF for non-exact values. That will be units for the perimeter. And this is a question involving geometry. The diagram shows the points A, B on the curve y equal to 2 root of x. The first thing is let's write this again as 2, then x power half, because it will be much simpler to work with the powers than the square root symbol. Now the line BC is a normal to the curve at B. So the line BC, BC is right here. This one, it is a normal. It means it is at 90 degrees. It is perpendicular to the curve at that point B. This is the point B right here. Now, C lies on the x-axis. Okay, C is right here. And the lines AD and B are perpendicular to the x-axis. So these two, they are vertical lines. Okay, good to know. Now, part 1, we have to find the equation of the normal BC. So we have to first find this equation. So how can we find this? So again, a normal is a straight line. To find the equation of a straight line, we must first find its gradient. So how would you find the gradient of BC? Now this will lead us to the other part, is to find the gradient of BC, we must first find the gradient of tangent, which is simply dy by dx at the point that we need to look at, which is B. So let's find dy by dx. So why is this? So dy by dx will be what? 2 is only a multiple, leave 2 outside. Then half, we'll have to first multiply by half, and then minus 1, that will be minus half. Cancel out, that will be 1 over root of x. So dy by dx will be this value. And then B is the point given to you by 4, 4. So we understand that dy by dx at the point B, which is x value is 4, that will be 1 over root of 4, that should be the value of half. Okay, that will be my gradient of tangent. Now, we understand that the concept behind is the gradient of tangent multiplied by gradient of normal, because they are perpendicular to each other, will give you the value of minus 1. So using this concept, we realize that the gradient of normal have to be minus 2. So we have the gradient of the normal line, which is BC. Now to find the equation, we just need a passing point now. Passing point is B, obviously. That will be 4 and 4. This is the x value and the y value. So we take y minus its corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value will be the value of the gradient, which is minus 2 over 1. Now again, why do I do this? This is just a technique or method to find the equation of a straight line. Nothing special here. So then cross multiply, you will have what? So y minus 4 is equal to minus 2x plus 8. That will be y is equal to minus 2x plus 8 plus 4 will be plus 12. That will be my equation of the normal. So y is equal to minus 2x plus 12. Now let's move on to the other question. So part 2, we have to find the area of the shaded region. So pretty easy if you think about it. It is just the area under the curve between the limits of here and here. Now this is the point D given to you as well. It is vertically below the curve, as we can see here. So this is the x value, that will be 1. And this will be the value of 4. So limits will be 1, 4. And this is simply the area under the curve between these limits. So part 2. So integration, obviously, to find area under curve, we have to use integration. Limits will be 4, 1. And the curve equation was 2x dx. So first thing, we can just remove this outside. And then that will be x. We have to add 1 to the power. That will be 3 over 2. Then divide by the same power that we have over here. Then finally, we have to add the limits for 1. This is just simple integration we have to know to solve this question. So again, step by step, 2 is only a multiple, so we just take this outside. Right. Then we have to add 1 to the power. So x power half, for half add 1 will be 3 over 2. Then we have to divide by the same power, will be 3 over 2. Now simplify, that will become what? 4 over 3, x 3 over 2 between 4, 1. Now simplify. We can take out the value of 4 over 3 as well. And then on the inside we have, first we have 4, 3 over 2, minus 1, 3 over 2. So 4 power 3 over 2, that will be what? That will be 8. So this is 8, minus this will be 1, that will be 7. So your answer will be 4 over 3 times 7, that will be 28 over 3. Okay, so this will be the area that we need to find. Of course, we have to write units square at the end. This is purely simple integration and some concepts we have to know for finding the equation of a normal. So that will be the question in regards to integration and area under curve. So now we have a question, I think this is regarding two functions. So part 1, express 2x squared plus 8x minus 10 in the form of this. So step by step. So the first thing I like to do is I like to verify if my coefficient of x squared is 1. So here we have 2, so we have to factorize. So take 2 outside, you will have x squared plus 4x. Now again, it is my personal preference. I don't like to include this in this. I can just take this outside on the side. Now since this is 1, I can proceed to the next step. So I have 2 here. That will be x squared plus 4x. Then we have to add a value. The value that we'll add will be the value here, which is 4 over 2 squared. Then here we have minus 10. Now when you add something, you also have to minus the same value. That will be minus, so 4 over 2 squared. Now because it was inside the bracket, we also have to give it the value of 2. If that makes sense. So here you will have 2 x squared plus 4x plus, that will be 2 squared. Here we have, so 2 squared, so minus 10, minus 2, 2 squared, that will be minus 18. So simplify. So this will give you 2 here, and here we have x, that will be x. Here we have plus, that will give you plus, and inside we have 2, that will give you 2. Here we have square, that will be square, and minus 18. So this will be your complete square form in this form, which is ax plus b squared plus c. That will be this. Now for part 2 of the question, for the curve that we have just found, which is also equal to 2x plus 2 squared minus 18, state the least value of y and the corresponding value of x. So basically find the minimum value, minimum point of the curve. So pretty easy. Because we were able to convert to this, we can use that expression to find this. So we understand that the value at the back will be the least value of y. So least value of y will be minus 18, and the corresponding value of x, we have to look inside. It is when x plus 2 is equal to 0, so x will be equal to minus 2. So the minimum point, it is what we're trying to find, which is minus 2 and minus 18. Again, this is your answer. But the concept is we are trying to find the minimum point of that curve. Now again, once you express in this way, we can use that to find this very simply. The value at the end will be the minimum y value, or the least y value, and the value inside here we have to equate to 0 to find the minimum or the corresponding y value. That will be this. Now for part 3, we have to find the set of values of x for which y will be more than 14. So let's have a look. So y is also equal to what? So let me continue here. Okay, so here we know y is equal to 2x plus 2 squared minus 18 have to be more or equal to 14. So simplify, you will have what? 2x plus 2 squared, 14 plus 18, that will be 32. Then divide by 2, here we have 2, right? That will be what? That will be 16. Now x plus 2, we have to simply find the critical values. Critical values first. That will be what? Equal to the value of plus minus 4, because when we apply square root, it becomes plus minus 4. So x will be minus 2 plus minus 4. So x can be what? Can be minus 2 plus 4 will be 2, or minus 2 minus 4 will be minus 6. Now these are the critical values. These are not the answers we're trying to find. Let's try to find this step by step. So we have to use our graph for this one. Now we know this one will be a minimum curve, as we have seen before. This will be my value of 0 here. And we understand that we need to be more than this, so more will be up. We have to find this part and this part. Now this value here will be what? The value here is minus 6, and the value here will be 2. So For it to be more, so simply on top, as you can see on top, we have to look at the value after this, which is x has to be more or equal to 2, x have to be less or equal to minus 6. So this will be the set of values of x for which this is true. Now it is not really 0, the idea is the same, is that we have the value to be more than 14, simplify 2 down to find the critical values where they actually equal to 14, or the value here. And then we need this value to be upwards of that value, because here it will be below the value. We want the value up, because here it is up and up, you can see. And this will be the set of values for which this will be happening. Again, this is a very common question in AdMath, I think, paper 1 or 2. This will come up pretty often. I'm sure you guys have enough practice from those questions. Now, this is actually not so common anymore in A-level in the recent years. However, it is also useful to know, always useful to know how to do those questions. Okay, so let's move on to part 4 of the question. Given that f of x is given to you by this, for the domain of this. So find the least value of k for which f is 1 to 1. So pretty easy. So let's think about this. F of x is simply the same equation that we have before, which is 2x squared plus 8x minus 10, which was simply 2 x plus 2 square minus 18. Right, this is the same equation that we have before. Now domain is x is more equal to k, for which the equation or the function will be defined. Now, we want the value of k such that it is a one-to-one function. So to understand this, we must first understand how does a graph looks like. For example, the graph, the sketch will look something like this. This is my x value and my y value. Now, let's have a look. Where is the minimum point? The minimum point will be right here, minus 2, minus 18. Let's say it will be somewhere over here. That's the minimum point. So usually the graph will look something like this. It will go up here, and it is going to go up here. That makes sense. That's the usual shape of the graph. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. Now, right now the graph is it is not a one-to-one function, because if you were to draw a horizontal line, you get one value and two values. So it is 1 to 2 function. For one line, you get 2 values. That makes sense. And we are trying to find the value of x, for which we can define the function such that for one line drawn, we have only one value. So what can that, or where can that happen? Now, if you observe, if we just do this, if we go up till the point here, we start the graph only from here. So the graph will be only this part. That makes sense. Now, if you draw a line anywhere on the graph, it will meet at only one point, and only then it will be a one-to-one function. So the idea is that it's pretty simple. Whenever you have this question, you have to think about the stationary point. In this case, it was a minimum point, and the value of x here was minus 2. So we understand that this can only happen when k have to be what? The least value of k will be minus 2. So again, whenever we have to deal with this kind of question, we have to think about the stationary point. Now again, k is the values of x. The least value of k, or the minimum value of k, as we had see here, has to begin at least from this point, which is the value of minus 2, for that to be possible. Okay, so that will be my answer for question part 4, sorry. It is only 1 mark, not that difficult. Now, express f inverse of x in terms of x in this case. So let's do this. So how do you find f inverse? Pretty easy. First step is to let y equal to f of x, which is 2x plus 2 square minus 18. Then we have to make x become the subject, so send this over here, becomes y plus 18 divided by 2, that will be x plus 2 square. Now x plus 2 will be plus minus y plus 18 over 2. Right, now x will be the value of 2, so minus 2 plus minus this value. Okay, so as we can see, we have two possible values here, but again, the value of k or x has to be more than this, have to go on the positive side. So f inverse in terms of x have to be minus 2 plus, only plus, that will be x plus 18 over 2. Okay, and that will be your answer for the last part of the question when it comes down to function.